confession time. As a Turkish people, I really struggle when speaking English because I guess knowing a language is more than just knowing the grammar and the vocabulary. I think it is also about being able to use your mouth to produce those sounds correctly. At least that's what I think. But I'm not sure about it. If there are other reasons why I have such a hard time speaking English, please enlighten me. Seriously. At one point, I got so fired up that I even started searching to see if there were others like me. People who wanted to protest the difficulty of English. Or maybe already were. Let's see if there are any. Alright then, story time. It was June 2010 at the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Contestants. Oh, it's so hard. Contestants, age 8 to 15 struggled with extremely difficult words like brachydactylos and legolian. While they wrestled with these words, the crowd outside was passionately protesting the complexity of the English spelling rules, matching the intensity of the words inside. Indeed, spelling reformers, those responsible for proposing innovation in our writing system, advocate comprehensive changes to make English spelling more intuitive. Their motivation for wanting such reform is that the English language is full of irregularities. A commonly used example goes like this. For example, we can take the G and H sounds from enough, which is going to be like F, right? And the O sounds from women, which is E, and T and I sounds in action. And we are going to claim that ghoti spells like fish, but it's not the reality, right? So how did English come to like this? English first began forming more than 1,500 years ago among the early Germanic tribes who invaded the British Isles. Their language blended into Old English. When Roman missionaries arrived around 600 CE, they found ways to write using the Latin, supplemented it with a few Germanic runes for sounds that didn't exist in Latin letters. Then came to 1066 Norman conquest, when French-speaking people invaded England. French became the language of authority and the high society, but English remained the dominant spoken language. Over time, the descendants of these French speakers also began speaking English, though some French words seeped into the language. Some English speakers were also familiar with the Latin through the church and formal education. By the mid-1400s, people had returned to writing in English, but without any standardized system. They drew from various influences to determine vocabulary and spelling, including the French they knew, the Latin they learned, and the English they spoke. As we can see, things were already quite complicated. Then in 1476, the printing press arrived in England. Some of the people who worked in print shops likely spoke mostly Flemish, not in English. And they were given manuscripts with spelling that varied widely. Without standardization, different writers used different spellings, partly based on forms they had encountered elsewhere. Many words have multiple spellings. For example, the word do used to be written in all sorts of ways, and it was originally pronounced like da. The guttural Germanic sounds at the end was one of that the Latin alphabet couldn't represent. Eventually, it began being written as G and H. However, English speakers later dropped the guttural sound from the some GH words altogether, like tough, for others like tough rather than though. They began pronouncing it as F. Printing presses helped cement spelling in place, even as pronunciation continued to evolve. And this didn't just apply to G and H. Some letters in other words also fell into silence. Words like knife, gnat, and the wrong all carry traces of past pronunciation. But while printing fixed spelling in memory, English was undergoing what scholars call the Great Vowel Shift. Between the 14th and the 18th centuries, English speakers dramatically changed the way they pronunciate many vowels. For example, the word once pronounced bout became boat. This pushed the boot, which had previously been pronounced boat, into the higher U vowel position it occupies today. Words that already had this high U often became containing two vowel sounds in one syllable. Thus, has become house. As with many linguistic changes, there is no clear explanation for why this happened, but it did. How the vowel shift affected a word depended on various factors, including the other sounds in the word. To was once toh, among other variations. True used to be true, and the doh was dah. These words all started with different vowel sounds and therefore affected differently by the shifts. They all adopted the o and u spelling, a somewhat randomly applied French influence. As a result, they ended up with distinct vowel sound but confusingly similar spellings. All of this and the way words constantly change has made English a difficult language, both to learn and speak. I guess this is the essence of the story and probably the reason why I struggle so much. Or at least, I hope that's the reason. Please do not forget to like the video and subscribe and support me on the Patreon. With love, Şevval.